on? It is 6 p.m. and I am opening the January 2nd, 2024 meeting of the Rutland Conservation Commission. Happy New Year, everybody. Present in the room, Joe Delaquila, who I didn't forget this time, Skip Clark, myself, Peter Crane, Glenda Williamson, Jared Gentilucci. Present remotely is Melissa Danza and our always helpful staff, Tamika Murphy. Let us begin with our minutes from the last meeting.
Make a motion to accept as written.
Second.
Discussion, corrections, questions, comments, roll call.
Delacour, aye.
Clock eye.
Oh, sorry, Williams.
Gentilucci, aye.
Crane, aye.
Dan's eye.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about you, Melissa, I'm sorry. Sheesh.
Okay, I remember myself.
You're in good company, Melissa.
We have a request for COC, Certificate of Compliance for 135 East County Road. There's the request and the forms, and there's even an as-built in here.
Yeah, and I think this one didn't require the as-built. I think that's why they had the special conditions highlighted in there. So just
Right.
for everyone to note. So like, it isn't perfectly what we asked for, but it wasn't a condition of this permit.
Exactly.
So when are we requiring final as-bills for single-family residentials?
As soon as they're on the orders.
Yeah, so this one was just before we changed our specials.
This one's from a while ago, right?
Yeah.
Originally.
Okay,
Because this was done,
It was 2017,
well,
was
in
extended.
17.
extended in 2020. But we wouldn't have changed any of the conditions,
No,
right?
we didn't.
there's a septic as.
Oh, typo, 135 Eat County Road. In any event, can I get a motion, please? Actually, did you guys go and look at this?
I did
during your
not.
site walks?
I did a drive-by on it, because it was all right off the road, so. I'll make a motion to accept.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call.
Delacour, aye.
Clock eye.
Williamson, aye.
Gentilucci, aye.
Dan's eye.
Crane, aye. There, that's all of that. So let's begin our discussions, please, with Emerald Road erosion concerns. Holy cow, do we have photos? Get that one. We can start here. These are the ones taken by DCR, the photos taken by DCR. Move this thing out of the way so I can. Yep.
What are these dated?
Is this
Just-
Emerald Road itself?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Just a second, I can answer that.
When did we go out? That Saturday?
That was a Tuesday. I'm having trouble reading that date, but it was,
23rd, that's when we went out.
thank you.
Oh, that says January 2nd.
Oh, right, that was the Tamika date. Probably scroll. There we go, December 28th.
Okay, so we went on the
We went out
23rd,
Yep.
which was closer to the actual storm.
Mhm.
On these 3 lots, do we have notices or orders on any of these lots?
I don't think so, I don't think they're
'Cause
within 100
It
feet.
didn't appear anything was in the buffer.
Right, I don't think any of it is, so
Yeah, there were no DEP numbers or anything.
if something's getting into a wetland, then obviously there's a jurisdictional issue, but
Right.
there were no permitting requirements for these.
Gotcha.
And those are the 3 there.
I think Glenda's pictures are better.
Are these Glenda's?
That looks like Glenda's.
Yes, there was a bunch of silt in the resource area at the low spot in the road on both sides.
Yeah,
Pretty extensive too.
it's pretty bad.
Hold on, first I have to let somebody else in, then I have to. I need to bring up the map and ask, so where is this exactly? Cause that's Turkey Hill, this is Emerald. So is it right up here?
No, it's on the south side of Emerald, a little further to the east.
These three?
A little further.
Oh, even further.
So right now, that all shows as, it looks like parcel 4 maybe, I can't read it.
Okay,
But
yeah.
it's 3 houses in those areas abutting the 4.05.
Okay, so three right along here.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, when you said it was entering the resource area, Glenda, I assume you meant across the road to the
It's
north?
probably
Or do you mean this one over
right where
here?
it says 4.12. Yeah, that
It
lot.
was just past the curve.
Yeah, I think that was a wetland crossing. There's no culvert there, was there, Jared?
We couldn't find one, but
It's a low
I
point, but
think
there's
there's
no
probably
culvert.
something in there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there could be, I don't know, it might be buried, but.
Is this one of the lots where I think a year ago they came back to us because there's one lot that has a wetland crossing. They were supposed to do replication. And they came back to us at the COC wanting to reduce the replication, but we essentially said no because they hadn't kind of outlined what their actual impacts were versus what was final.
I don't
Because
think
there's
that
one
was
with a
here.
really long
I do remember
paved
that
driveway.
one. That's
That was
the
on Emerald.
13 maybe?
4.13, that's that one. That's the one you're
Okay, so
talking about,
that's
Melissa. Yep.
before these. If you're heading down Emerald towards, oh my God, coming from Turkey Hill, going down Emerald. So the long driveway is before
Yes.
this. Okay,
Correct,
okay.
correct.
Sorry. Just want to make sure I'm in the right orient.
And I was trying to figure out, because I think we do have an open order on one of the other houses on this street. I think it was noted as lot 3. I'd have to double check that. I was trying to dig back into our records to find it, and I couldn't quite confirm. But we did walk, there was another house being built that I think is either, I think it's the 4.10 lot right there. Because at first we weren't sure if it was that one that was the problem. So we walked that briefly, and that one was fine. And that one, I believe we do have an open order on.
I would hope so,
But
based on this.
Yeah, but that's not the one that's the
Because
issue, it's
It's
the
these
ones
three up
further up,
here
yeah.
that again,
yeah.
okay. So Glenda, I have to ask again, what resource area did you say that the siltation was getting to?
I think it's where it says 4.12 acres. It looks like where that resource area would actually cross, and those would actually
Like
connect.
down here?
Yes,
The whole area flows down into the lake that's down behind Welch.
Right. Well. Siltation's getting from the resource area. What orders should we issue?
enforcement.
Do we need to issue a C and D on activity up there until they, well, they've gotta get ECBs installed.
Yes.
I mean, that's
First thing, yeah.
bottom line, they need ECBs installed. So my question is only, what orders should we issue to make that happen?
So I always think of it in one of two paths. We can either go straight for kind of the enforcement order, cease and desist, no work until, the site is in compliance. And or kind of not necessarily a combo, but kind of, you have a date by which the erosion controls need to be installed by. We have noticed that there is a violation, potential wetland impacts. Please come to our next meeting to discuss. Or like kind of like a combo of the two. So we could not quite do a cease and desist if that's not something that the commission is looking to do harshly, but kind of a cease and desist in the sense of setting up a schedule for compliance. Say you have, X amount of days to install erosion controls. And then, by the next meeting, you have to have this documents, etc. So I guess it just depends how forceful you initially want to come across. If you want to give them the, hey, here's a notice, come to our next meeting, fix the erosion controls, let's talk about it. And failure to, do them will result in further enforcement, or just going straight for, here's an official enforcement order, and still doing all the other additional things.
Do we wanna do an enforcement, or do we just do a C and D?
Can I make a
Well,
comment on
Not
that?
yet.
The cease and desist would be the enforcement order.
Right, anything short of a C and D is not an, is
Well, I
a
don't know.
is a worded letter. Strongly worded letter.
My question is, at this point, is it necessary not to involve all of the state agencies at this point? Or is it,
No. I don't think so, just keep it with the commission.
or do we handle it, locally,
Yeah, I mean, the enforcement order can say, install erosion controls, stabilize the site.
When we were talking enforcement order, I was kinda,
Yeah, I mean, it can just be like a requirement to stabilize the site and keep their soil on their
On the
lots.
property, yeah.
I mean,
when the term enforcement order comes up, I always think that we're involving DEP or DCR in the
No,
enforcement.
I don't think
No.
we're at the, we're not at the point of involving them
Well,
on
I
this.
was,
I believe,
right,
sure, I
So, I
believe,
mean,
I
the
don't
fact-
to interrupt. If I do an enforcement order, I'm pretty sure I have to send a copy to the DEP though.
They would get a
Melissa can
copy,
correct me if I'm wrong.
no, you do.
Yeah, they get it,
You
right, yeah.
CC them.
right,
Yeah,
we would
they get a
CC
copy,
them,
but
but
it
we're
doesn't-
not asking them I don't think we would at this point ask them directly for enforcement support.
right.
Right.
No, I mean,
And I think that's what Joe's means by managing it locally, as opposed to the times that we have gone to DEP and say, we need your support on this, and they get people involved as well.
right, yeah.
So, sounds to me like the will of the commission is local, this Concom, fine. Go back to C and D, or do we, or do we just give a timeline for completion and a request for them to attend the next meeting, which frankly would be part of the C and D anyway, but.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I think we ought to have somebody from whoever their engineer is or whatever, come in and talk to us.
So we'll need to talk to them about what to do with the sediment deposited in the wetlands.
Yeah,
They're gonna have to clean that up.
That's the bigger issue there, because there's
Not that they can do anything right now, probably, but
And it's gonna get much harder this weekend.
yes, I know. I'm actually questioning, they obviously need to install some erosion controls. What could they install in, say, the next couple of weeks with the conditions that are out there now? And the temperature's just getting colder.
It's getting colder, it might still be before hard freeze though.
Yeah.
Frost only that thick.
So they could do ECDs.
I think for one thing they need, not that I'm gonna engineer this for them, but they don't have much stone at the driveway.
Yeah,
They could just add a
look like they have
bunch.
a pad.
Not really, it was like 6 feet long, which is nothing. So, I mean, that's one thing they could easily do.
Okay. Yes, sir. Name and address, please.
Robert Davis, 33 Emerald Road, directly across the street. I have decades of experience in zoning and code enforcement. And this developer, the men are working on the site before light and after dark. So they're there in the dark using nail guns and working on the building. It's been my experience. You have those houses sold before you unless you issue a cease and desist, he's gonna continue right on going. And if we have more rains or snow or runoff or anything else, you're gonna have more silt in the wetlands. Has anybody been in to see how much damage has been done? Because the water and the silt that poured out of there is inches deep, or was. So with a developer that's going full speed ahead, all three frames all at the same time,
Yeah, I don't believe anyone's gone and evaluated the wetlands impact yet.
well,
Other than, I mean, we've seen some, but we haven't
enough to see it.
evaluated, we haven't measured.
wouldn't it be advisable to do that when while the time it prevails and can?
As we can, is what I would say.
Yeah, like, I mean, it'll stay frozen, but like if we have a warm up and rain, then that's more migration further down.
You know, once the damage is done, it's,
Can I ask one thing? One thing, Diane Derrick at 33 Emerald Road, we didn't get to see Mr. Rantella's full letter, that what he saw. Can we go back to that?
Just a moment and I'll bring that up. No. Let me do it this way, much easier.
Thank you.
Talk to Chris, blah, blah, blah.
Northwestern side of the road, down the hill and onto the woods, DPS map soon. I had a call with Chris. Can I ask who Chris Kolofsky is?
He is the director of the DPW in town.
Our town, okay. Okay, so he did speak to someone on site.
I saw sediment in that wetland. Did he mean the northern or
There's-
southern side?
That's going down.
Non-jurisdictional. So the northern side is DCR, jurisdictional to DCR. Is mostly from road runoff from the northern side of Emerald
Right.
Road. Do we agree with it being mostly road runoff? Cause I mean, yeah, let's give them, it is a dirt road, but how much soil actually came off those 3 lots down the
Yeah.
road into the
a
wetland?
lot.
I'm not convinced it's from just road runoff.
I'm not either, it's.
I mean, I didn't see it myself, but from what I could see, I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of it was from these two house sites.
Those open sites, yeah.
Yeah.
How's the road pitched, do we know?
I think it had a slight crown to it.
It's a
I was
crown.
gonna say bump.
What was that, sorry?
I said bumpy.
Certainly is that.
Well, we said
I
it
mean,
is a
I
dirt
mean-
road, so.
I can attest, you know, even at the corner of Turkey Hill and Irish, where there's that fire pond, you know, there's a lot of sediment that gets into the road from there too. It probably looks almost the same, if not worse, than some of the pictures that Glenda has, which I know is just from the road. It's one of my pet peeves. So I wouldn't be surprised if some of it come from the road, just because I know how water rips through this whole section of town. But definitely not all of it, because it wasn't always like that. So if it was from the road, it would have had a history of doing that washout there.
Yeah, I agree. Ditches would help.
It appeared to be all recent and not
Yes,
historic.
yes.
There was nothing on top of it, leaf litter and stuff like that.
Right.
So they tell me that,
It looked pretty recent.
yeah.
Yeah.
We're back to, do we go straight to a C and D? Or do we, actually, I'll tell you, I hate to leave the discussion as chair, but my gut is telling me we should go straight to C and D because of snow. It's coming.
Yep.
It's coming it's coming in a few days. And they've gotta just stop.
So let's just
Go
Yeah,
ahead.
put it all on the, then we can just put it all on the table, you know, in terms of they can cease and desist, we can give them a deadline still for the erosion controls with the
Yeah.
stipulation if they could restart, you know, once they get those inspected by one of us.
Mhm.
And then we can include on that enforcement order a restoration plan, you know, and coming to our next meeting.
Yep.
Yeah, and some BMPs like stabilized construction entrance and
Yeah.
that type of thing.
There are aerial photographs, and there is no silt fencing in sight.
Right.
It should be in your files.
I do have them right here. And I didn't expect to see any erosion with silt fence of any sort just because these lots did not come before the commission because there's nothing jurisdictional.
But the land flows that way. You would think a developer would say, okay, the land is going downhill this way, and I should put a silt fence there.
Well,
It's not his first rodeo. He's built dozens of houses previously.
it is very common in this town to not put in ECBs unless this
Unless we
commission
order
requires them. We have a hand raised, Bob Cox.
Hi, I'm Bob Cox. I live at 66 Emerald Road, which is just around the corner from the screen that you're looking at. But I'm in the area and I walk the area. I have a question for the commission, maybe to the chair. I'm a bit confused about your reference to a CD versus an enforcement order. As I understand the regulations and as they direct you, they provide you with Form 9, which is an enforcement order. I think there's language in there that says cease and desist in a box that you check off that says cease and desist until you take some action, all of which you've been talking about, which is to put in some type of erosion controls promptly before we get a storm coming up this weekend. And then come to the commission to talk about, well, what are you going to do? Are you going to provide us with a notice of intent that's going to show you a restoration plan? Because from my observations, and I know one of you went out there and saw it, there's a fair amount of sediment that I think is fresh and can trace back to this open lot. And by the way, the three open lots, this doesn't depict the current conditions. It looks to my mind, looking at aerials, like at least 5 acres that are completely open and exposed, which raises a sidebar as to whether this raises federal jurisdictional issue. But really come back to the issue before you, and the question is, are you going to use Form 9? Does that include the cease and desist that you're talking about? And will you be following along the lines, using that form to say, hey, you need to come in here, you need to do an NOI, and you need to come up with a restoration plan?
You're absolutely right, Bob. My initial reaction.
I can't see you. Is that Joe?
Yeah. The area that looks like it's open, was that ever a cornfield? Because it looked like there were corn stalks that don't show up in the aerials
Yeah.
on the recent
It
stuff.
was,
When we were out there, it looked
other
like
neighbors
all
can
kinds of
describe
corn
it. It's
stalks.
been a cornfield for 30 years.
Yeah, okay. So the pictures are somewhat misleading as to how much they've actually opened up. I thought it was, like you said, 5 acres all opened up based on what I saw from the pictures. But when we were on site, we saw all the corn stalks, which would lead me to believe it was an agricultural or something. And they've kind of left that alone.
Yeah. But I believe they moved, well, from my observations, they moved soil around in order to raise elevations for septic systems.
Oh, absolutely.
Can I say something, Peter?
Please.
I don't think that we're necessarily required to make them do a notice of intent, to require a notice of intent. I mean, I think it depends on the situation with an enforcement order requiring a notice of intent because.
Well, the notice of intent would come into play when they do the cleanup, because they're gonna be disturbing.
Well, I'm just saying, like, then, does that take some of our enforcement power if we're waiting on an order to be issued and to make conditions? You know what I'm saying? I think we should just do an enforcement
Well, we
order.
got,
No, but what Mr. Cox was saying was that the enforcement order would include the requirement
To do
to,
it.
to submit an NOI for the replication or
Yeah.
whatever the cleanup is.
right.
But the enforcement order will allow them to go in the resource area and clean it up by itself. You don't necessarily have to
Yeah.
require an
So
NOI.
I think what Glenda's trying to get to is that there's two ways to go about enforcement. You can require notice of intent, or you can keep it as an enforcement order, and DEP is okay with that. And you have slightly more enforcement action if you keep it. It's weird, ironically. So DEP did, I think a year ago, they had one of their hot discussions about this point, in that when you require them to do a notice of intent, unless you keep kind of those deadlines consistently throughout, whether it's in your order or you have the enforcement order superseding above it, you get caught in this cycle of like not having deadlines. But when you keep it as an open violation, as an enforcement order, you're kind of have a heavier hand in tracking like the timelines and such. So it's up to the commission which way we want to go about it. But I think at least for now, and Bob, apologies for using kind of the opposing terms, but essentially all that when we're talking about a cease and desist, we're primarily always going to use the enforcement order. So we kind of simultaneously use those phrases, and it does get confusing. So apologies for that. But that, yeah, enforcement order would include the deadline to install the erosion controls, and then whether we can have the discussion at the next meeting to have the deadlines about the restoration plan, which can then dictate the deadlines for either the submittal of a notice of intent and or the actual work commencing it. Does that make sense?
Yep.
So I don't think it's necessarily the NOI versus enforcement, full term is something that we need to decide definitively on tonight. Unless that's something you guys want to. I think as long as we're in agreement of the first step being the enforcement order, we decide on a deadline for the erosion controls, whether that's 7 days, and, just agreement on the conditions until, our next meeting. We can give them the heads up of like, this is what we're looking for in terms of wetland impacts analysis and restoration plan. But
Yeah, I think
I
it's a
think it
matter of,
depends on their actions essentially, and how willing they are to work with us. Depends on how we
right.
can process their
Comes
moving
down to a matter
forward.
of priorities too, Melissa. I think the first priority is to stop the runoff. All right, and as far as remediation goes, that may drag into springtime.
But it almost has to.
Yes,
Yeah.
at this point it has
So at this
to.
point, to require an NOI at this juncture, we might be premature.
Yeah, I think the cease and desist shouldn't, the enforcement order shouldn't include the requirement of a notice of intent submittal within 30 days. That's not necessarily, we're not quite there yet because the impacts, we don't know.
Right.
So I think at least cease and desist, install erosion controls, you can start once those have been rectified. And then, we are looking for your attendance at the next meeting to discuss wetland impacts and restoration.
Right. Who is responsible for determining the wetland impacts?
I was gonna ask that
Is
next.
it us or is it?
So we can require them to submit analysis. It's up
From a third party?
it's up to us to decide if it's good enough. I'll put it that way.
Right,
Right.
to get a
So the
qualified wetland
burden,
scientist or
Yeah,
whatever.
that's what I was
yeah,
gonna suggest.
yeah, PWS.
Okay,
I think that burden should be on the developer.
Definitely.
that was my first thought, as long as we can be sure that their evaluator is sufficiently
Yeah,
objective.
yeah,
Well, it has to take place at his expense, at the town expense.
yes.
Excuse me, do you mean to hire somebody that would evaluate
Yes,
the damage
Yes.
and restore it?
Yes, and it would have to
A
be
third party paid for by the
in a
developer.
certified wetland
So it's not on the
scientist.
town.
Correct,
Right.
yes, yes.
And with this, just the one, to your point, I think too, and I don't know how you have to make it all work, but with another storm, with another warm up, with the weather, time is not on our side. Some damage has already been done, and it looks like the potential is there for even more. That's our concern in a nutshell.
offhand, I would say we agree with that assessment.
Thank you, but it's pretty obvious, I think. And nobody can control the weather, we all know that.
Okay. So what are we putting in the order? C and D?
CD.
what's the time period when we should require ECBs to be installed?
By our next meeting.
I'd say way before that.
Sooner than that.
What's the 16th?
16th is our next meeting.
So if it went
So
out,
especially if we're gonna get some precipitation this weekend, I mean, I think it's gonna be snow, but I would say if we can get this out, tomorrow, I'm happy to help with Tamika. It should be days,
Right.
It's gotta be,
whether 48, 72 hours.
Yeah, and they don't have to work magic to get that done. I mean, that's pretty straightforward.
Mm-hmm.
Because they don't have an ECB plan of any sort, should we specify, I hate to do that, but I don't have a better option at this instant, somebody please suggest something better to me than saying silt fence and wattle, or silt fence and bales.
I would just put in appropriate erosion control measures
Right, do not.
per the site. So they need to get a qualified professional to determine, and that can be just anyone, a general CSL can probably be a qualified professional enough for erosion controls. So they should be able to know what will work and not work.
Yeah, the specification should be that no more escapes from the site, period.
Well, that's true, that's true.
So we can write adequate erosion controls to prevent sedimentation into, the roadway in adjacent wetlands.
Yeah, okay, that works.
It's hard not to over-engineer things for them, but
right?
The temptation's always there.
yeah. But God forbid if we suggest something and it doesn't work, they're gonna just throw it back on us.
Yeah.
Which is fine, because we told them to do it, but
Never fails.
Nope,
Yeah.
I'm satisfied with adequate to prevent further siltation. How strongly should we suggest they increase the size of the exit pad?
Say that again, Peter?
Well, their pad is awfully small, Jared already commented
Yeah.
on that, for when they exit, that they're dragging dirt with them off-site, every truck that leaves.
so maybe we just suggest they refresh their stabilized construction entrance to be an effective BMP.
Okay, yeah.
They do have 4 entrances to that property.
Oof.
yeah,
And it's, those big trucks have already broken down the top of our driveway. I mean, you take a triaxle, fully loaded, it just grinds asphalt into particles.
Do you remember what the
We didn't
edges
look at the
look
rest of
like,
these, we
edges
just
of the road.
look at them briefly.
The edges of the sites, like, are they, there's not really any vegetative buffer
No,
No,
to speak of. These photos are great. Look at these.
It's hard to tell what lot that is.
Peter, it's Tamika.
Yes.
You still have to determine the length of time on the ECBs.
Friday's January.
you're right, somebody needs to.
Friday, January 5th.
by end of
They
day,
would have just, like, how long will it take them to get the EO? You email that?
I'll send it. Yeah, I can email it. I'll send it tomorrow.
You have an email
Into me,
contact for this
Yep.
company? Okay, great.
I'm
I can help you with
99%.
everything.
Yep,
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
99% sure that I do.
Oh, true.
It's probably on Viewpoint. If we don't,
Yep, it is.
it's where I find 99% of my sleuthing.
by the end of the week?
By the end of Friday.
I was gonna say
Yeah.
by Saturday morning.
Yes,
Oh, yeah.
I would say by end of day Friday, end of workday Friday.
So 5 p.m. Friday.
Yeah,
CLB.
yeah.
Tamika, does Townhouse close at 5 on Fridays or no, it's closed on Fridays. Never mind.
Yep, we're closed Fridays.
Is there anything else we want?
No, that's just the beginning. We don't have.
Well, to write in this, that's,
Should the commission make a formal motion to Peter?
well, as soon as we know that's why I'm asking if there's anything else we wanna put in, cause we meant, what have we said about?
So are we doing, sorry, are we doing stopping work until erosion controls are inspected?
Yes,
Yes.
Can I make a comment?
1 second,
on what else
please.
you might add?
1 second, please. Cause I don't wanna lose my thinking, what did we say about them hiring someone to
So we can, for the enforcement order, if we want to keep it simple and clean, we can stick to the straight enforcement of erosion controls, stopping work until erosion controls are inspected and attendance at our next meeting. And then I can work with Tamika or anyone for like a cover letter that outlines our expectations about what will happen about the next meeting in terms of the sedimentation into the wetland resource areas.
Do we want to put anything in there that these erosion controls are installed and ready for inspection by the Conservation Commission? That the Conservation Commission would
So that would
inspect
be
on Saturday?
So that would be in the conditions of the enforcement order, and then we can clarify in the cover letter about, I can ask Tamika who to contact for, for them to confirm that they're done, so then that they can reach out to us.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay, yes, your comment.
I would suggest that you say that occupancy permits are a condition of the of this enforcement law.
We don't have power to do that.
You don't?
And that's way down the road.
That's planning board.
Yeah.
Only planning board has authorization to to directly impact the certificate of occupancy.
Oh,
But this is just a question.
Yeah.
This is just asking them to stop till they can get the proper erosion control in place.
correct.
And then it will be inspected. So however they come up with the plan, whether it's a paid third party, that's their it's on them, it's not on the town. And we're just telling them before it gets worse, that's the concern here. Yeah, okay,
And the work is ceased until such time as the inspection takes place.
exactly.
Right, so the until we somebody or somebody's from here inspect, work stops. But they're not stopped based on evaluating what's happened in the wetland yet, that's a sort of second process that. So figuring out how to take care of what's happened in the wetland is a longer process and they'll be able to once we approve the barriers, they'll be able to start work again, which is by itself going to let
Yeah,
them.
well, when you're trying to fight the flood, the first thing you wanna do is shut the faucet off.
Exactly, exactly. And at this point, it does seem like there's damage, so mitigation or fixing it is another issue.
That's right, that's
down-
exactly
okay,
right.
Exactly, okay,
But with the weather coming in,
exactly.
measuring what's happened so far is gonna be more difficult if it's not done
Quickly,
yet within the next couple of days, and that might be more of a challenge than we can
Getting,
impose.
getting somebody to do it might be more of a challenge to.
Exactly.
it's still in their best interest though, wouldn't it be, so the cleanup isn't even worse?
Well, that's why we
It can
talk
actually
about
goes both
those.
ways, but that's a complicated,
Okay.
that's a complicated question. Okay, anything else for the orders?
No, that looks good.
Then I would like a motion, please.
So moved.
I'll second.
Any other comments, questions? Roll call this side.
Jim Palucci, aye.
Williams and I.
Clock eye.
Local eye.
Danza, aye.
Green eye. All right, we'll get that out in the next day, hopefully tomorrow. Hopefully tomorrow. All right, let's close this one. Get that out of the way, and nothing close. Yeah, just put you away for now. And those are the ones that Glenda showed. Yep, okay, now, moving on to our next issue, Takala Pond. There are two sides to this. One side is the siltation that got into it, and one side is what I'm just gonna call the dam. We're gonna deal with those as separate issues for now. So, Joe and I went for a walk before the other commissioners. Who went for the Saturday walk?
Joe, myself, and Glenda.
Okay, so I'll let you guys talk about what you saw when you did your walk around the heights.
Who wants to start?
Jared?
I'll go. We walked the road along the top edge of the pond, took a look up there. Everything looked pretty good on that side. We walked down, and then we came, where there was a breach in the wood chips.
Yeah,
Big
stump
berm of wood
grindings,
chips.
yeah.
Where the paved road went down pretty quickly, sharply, down to the bottom of the hill there. We walked all the way down to the field down there. Speaking for myself, I didn't see any evidence of any sediment in those areas or any, where we did see erosion controls, any issues with those erosion controls. This was on Saturday the 23rd. Walking down to the field at the bottom, it's very well vegetated, pretty thick, and we didn't see any deposited sediment down there. Just no signs of it coming from the Rutland Heights construction site. Those were my observations.
Glenda, do you want to add anything?
I mean, I can see where the stormwater came off the Rutland Heights property and busted through that barrier and down the road and probably through the field, but there was no sediment deposit in that field at the bottom of the slope. So that large amount of tan brown water, could it come from the upper pond through the stream or stormwater basin that connects those two ponds as opposed to around?
Right, so the question, I mean,
It could have just been really, really muddy stormwater from the upper pond going down the channel to the lower pond. If it, if it wasn't, I'm not saying we don't know.
Yeah, we were unable to identify a source, a definitive source. And not saying it didn't happen, I mean, it obviously happened, but there was nothing we could put a stake through, if you would, to say this is thus and so. I think you and I, when we went down there immediately after that Wednesday, we went down.
yeah, Joe and I went down a couple of days before you.
Okay.
Right.
So, go ahead,
And
Joe.
we basically came to the same, not speaking for Peter, but I think we were in agreement as to exactly what you folks came up with when we all went down.
Yeah.
Peter and I went a little further out to the far end of the property boundary looking, thinking that maybe it circled around, and there was no evidence. I mean, it was the same thing that we all saw closer in. So to lay blame on anything would be difficult, to say the least.
So the only question that keeps coming up in my mind, gosh, now I gotta find it. Good Lord. That's the wrong road anyway, isn't it?
I think you were close, Peter. Go down.
Yeah, I think I was.
Yeah, school's right there. Just down a little bit more.
There we go.
Yep.
Okay. We concentrated, I mean, Joe and I certainly concentrated on this edge, if you will, the roadway, looking down this way, looking up this way, and down to the edge of the property. One of the things that I noticed, Joe and I talked about, was that we could hear water running along this, somewhere on this property. Which makes me ask a really awful question, should we have also all looked back here? Because this is clearly a steep hill.
Yep.
And in fact, it's a much steeper drop off since they moved all the dirt. So I'm wondering if we should have also investigated this edge to see if it came down this way, entered this, this isn't really a river, but whatever water's running along here, if there was enough, it could have flowed that way.
Right, because we saw photos.
Right, we know that there was
We
stuff.
know there was a giant dark sediment plume, so
Right, so that there was sedimentation is not a question.
we just don't know
We just don't know the source yet.
how it got in
And so
there.
But Peter, we went all the way out to that field.
Oh, yeah,
We were out at that edge.
yeah, we were here, we
We went all the way to the fence.
yeah, exactly.
So,
There's like no flow pattern,
Right, so there's
vegetation.
nothing on the pond side on that, if I can call it south and west side. 1 second, Julian, I'll get there.
can you offer any insight to it?
What is it?
I was going to
I could bring
do
it right
that
to
next.
two spots.
What is it? Patch
But
of
Can you point them out?
dark.
The one spot. Right here. Going right down here, cascading over.
I'm just moving it, sorry.
Cascading over, coming under this culvert. There's just a brown, just fill this thing just brown. Right from where they just paved. They paved this part right here. So right in this, right along the edge of the road. And then one of these photos shows the brown cascading. 5 hay bales probably would have stopped it. Not that I say it's gonna happen again. My question is there a stormwater pollution prevention plan for the heights? And is there a person who has to do a weekly report and after every storm? And I ask that because I'm mandated to do that on a few projects, one here in town for Clee, and a couple in Holden.
Right.
And I have to look at the whole site once a week and
Quarter
look for
inch.
breaches, look for if a branch, like the one project is, if a branch falls out of a tree and knocks the silt fence over, it's a nightmare, never mind something happening.
I have not reached out to them
But
to ask.
there's gotta be
additional
somebody
reports.
who's in charge up there, cause if there isn't, they have a bigger serious problem than us. They got the EPA.
I thought they were
Situation.
doing SWIPs and everything.
As I said, I haven't asked them for that, I hadn't gotten to that in the last couple of weeks.
So that's one of the questions I asked you guys last time, is there a name of who's there, what, I'd like to find that out, cause it's gonna happen again, it's happened 4 times this year.
That's the steepest point right there.
But it washes away so quick, I mean, in 2 days, there's so much water coming down through there, that it just washes clean. And the crazy part is it all ends in Demon Pond.
Well, you'd think they could just put in a temporary sediment basin or something.
Do they have any?
You know what I mean?
Are there any designed, like right on the 2 spots that I saw, could be fixed very easily,
There is,
but it's not.
there are
my-
detention basins up there.
But are there spots where, there's a lot of land exposed up there.
Yeah.
Believe me, I know the nightmare of every time I hear drizzles on the roof, I'm like, oh my God, tomorrow's gonna be hell.
Yeah.
But it rains, it happens.
Excuse me. I went by there about 2:30 today, and then somebody was just loading in a backhoe up onto a flatbed, and the dam had been rebuilt and redammed. So
Well, DPW is maintaining the dam and the spillway.
So that would be
Okay.
the town, yeah.
Yeah, that is the town's dam, that is not That's not, Harmony Place.
I just noticed that somebody was there working on it.
So if it doesn't happen again, perfect. That's all I gotta say to that. I hope it doesn't happen again for their sake, it's just a nightmare. But when I saw those two different storms, it was like, if this was my site, I think I'd be retired. I think I'd say, I'm done. Towels in the ground, I'm done. Cause they're gonna chew us up and spit us out. But
So Joan, you were saying it came out the culvert over
right,
here?
it come right through that culvert. This culvert, let me show you this picture, you can look at it again. I'm not a good photographer. Okay, this is, you go out there. There's the guardrail, this is at the entrance, the main road goes, that's the main road to where they paved. They paved
Yeah.
up here. See that yellow line right there? Looks like a waterfall of coffee. Came down
Went through the upper
here,
part.
then it fills in this low spot. You probably would see a little bit of yellowness in the leaves down in here. It goes through a culvert, and then it comes out, if you look at, that's the pond. So the culvert is like right here. And then these pictures are lousy. If I could maybe get them glossy, this is all this color. So it's coming this side, and this is that spot where the chips are breached.
Yeah,
And that's looking up.
but down here.
Down here.
Isn't there a storm drain down here? Right along,
There might be, but there's nothing on this road. This is nice and clean. It's coming from here into the ditch. There's a culvert pipe under the road that comes out to the far end of the pond. Comes out way, it's kind of like this. And it might be a stone call. I didn't actually go and see a pipe. It might just be a stone back in the day the way they did it. So this one could have been blocked up the swale. They have silt fence all the way around, but it was going right down the, right where they paved, right around it, and so they could have fixed that in a few minutes. And maybe they did. I did notice that they fixed this breach, so nothing else should go down there, it should puddle up here.
Right.
Yep.
So they're doing something, so that's all right. Just keep an eye on.
you know, and the thing is, they did that without us even talking to them.
Good.
You didn't call them, did you? Because we went Wednesday,
We must
and
have got
then we
nervous
went again
seeing a
Saturday.
silver truck and a guy
Saturday,
taking
the repairs
pictures.
were done. I mean, they probably
I
saw
know, I always
Peter,
do.
they probably saw Peter and I poking around over there and said, well, we better get a look at that.
So, I mean, it's, as far as amount of sediment, probably nothing, it was just dirty water. But eventually, it does collect when there's 3 days of it. So,
No, it'll all drop out
and it's,
in time.
Yeah, sooner or later.
but they got the right, what everyone else in town has to build, this is what I'm mainly getting at. I know I'm doing it for Clee, every time it rains, once a week, he's paying to have us look at, I've had Gary Domain, I send him directly from the DEP. We go down there and we look at everything, and I know there was a couple occasions where the water was, I would have drank it. Oh, absolutely not. No discharge of this, and that was from DCR and from the DEP. The retention pond number 1, down in the first phase.
Right.
And it's like, that wasn't even dirty.
Because we had erosion control inspection, our Brianna she did a site visit out there in terms of the
Yes.
erosion controls, but we didn't take a close enough look at the stormwater setup, maybe.
There must have been, when they approved this, there must have been a whole stormwater, whole section of what should be done and
Yeah, there should be
implemented.
Oh, there
And who's
is.
in charge, there should be a person,
The SWIP inspector.
the SWIP inspector. It's a very important job.
Okay.
You bucking for some extra work?
I do that for 5 projects.
Yes,
I'm very
Julie, I know.
important.
We know
So
this.
And I quiver when I see the slightest little water, it's dirty, it's like, uh-oh,
I will get the SWIP reports, I'll call them this week.
you just keep an eye on it, that's all.
And I'm gonna go up and take a look around their paved road. We did see the paved road, we even commented on it a little bit, Joe.
You might just have to put some riprap, I don't wanna tell them how to do it.
Yeah, no, exactly.
Some
Something,
riprap right in that.
Take a look at it to make sure
Right
that.
on the side of the road, right where it's all funneling to. Just make a berm right there and it's gonna stop 90% in the speed of the water coming down that old road, the old Heights Road going to the school. That's pretty steep. So a couple of check dams, slow it down. So that's that. Noted. What's it gonna do?
I still do wanna do an inspection on the backside to make sure that we didn't miss something that way.
Okay.
There's a big area that's wide open. That's a huge area.
Yep.
So-
Actually, I have to look to see, cause, well, I don't like this picture. But they were supposed to only do earth movement for phases 1 and 2 and not even, well, I don't think they've hit phase 3 yet, cause they haven't tried to connect the road. But that looks bigger than phases 1 and 2 to me. But I could be wrong, so I don't wanna say,
Start a rumor.
no, I don't wanna, yeah.
Yeah.
But could we get the development plan or something? Is it on the,
Oh, yeah, it's on the SharePoint.
in the SharePoint in there somewhere?
Yeah, we have that. So assuming they have been keeping up with their SWIP and their inspection reports, which hopefully they have been, definitely required to have a NIPD's permit. It should be identified in there, but do we also wanna ask them, have there been any issues lately? Any sediment leaving the site?
Any discharges?
Any
that-
discharges?
What do they know? Yeah.
Yeah, just to verify if that is where it came from, at least we'll solve that mystery and can keep an eye on it going forward. And if they did in fact fix it within a few days, that's at least good to hear.
Right, exactly.
Tells me hopefully they are staying on top of things and,
Well, they knew something was amiss. They either knew it because they saw Peter and I there, or they observed it
or they,
themselves.
right.
Hopefully, they observed it themselves.
Yeah.
You know, and it shows us they're on the ball, but, you know, again, looking at the SWIP reports is gonna tell us that.
Should, yep.
So Jared's suggesting setting them up for a honey trap, basically.
Nice, Jared.
Yeah, next time we go up there, we're gonna have to watch out for the bear traps.
Alrighty, so that's
Part one.
as much as we know about the sedimentation going into Takala Pond.
So far.
Well, so far as much as we can
Much as
do
we
right
know.
now. Get rid of that, let's talk about the dam. The damned dam,
Or lack thereof.
Yeah.
Which dam?
at the, where
Right at the roadway.
where Kenwood and Walnut meet. Just up there is
Right on the edge of the road, where the culvert
dam.
pipe crosses,
Yeah,
right before you get to Kenwood Court.
okay. Whose pictures are these? I don't even know.
These yours,
We
Glenda?
took these on that Saturday morning also,
Okay,
the 23rd.
So that pink flag is actually within, I would say within 2 inches of where the water used to be throughout the whole seasons. And what I see it happen, which is, the beavers would work real fast and the road would be getting flooded. So I understand exactly what they had to do to maintain it, but this time is the first time ever, is when they came, this is part of the beaver mound here, there's some brush and broken sticks and stuff. This is what a water level used to be, and they'd clear that off, and there was a little bit of a depression here, and it would spill over. Well, this time they went in and took the earth, and here was about, well, I got some pictures on my phone, probably 1.5 to 2 feet. So when the water went down, this channel was even lower, so this pond would eventually drain right out. So in the last week, the beavers woke up, and this is, let me show you a picture. This is completely, it's
Took 'em
about
long
probably
enough.
6 inches low. It's completely dammed. This morning it was completely dammed. But the earth under here is still gone. And what I'm hoping is that that earth could get put, boulders and stone could be put back. So that if the beaver dam does get washed out in the bad storm, the pond doesn't just disappear.
Right.
That's the only concern, that's all. We can, and then the material is actually pretty much all right here. Nothing was pulled from the site, it was just pushed off to the side. So it's all boulders and stones, so they can probably do it without too much trouble. And kind of reinforce that spillway. I know we're calling it a dam, but if it is a dam, that's only probably 3 feet high, so it's not a serious dam. And then it comes down into the culvert pipe.
The dam's about the level of the road though.
It's pretty close, it's a little bit lower, so when the beavers do build a little bit, the water does come right up to the edge of the road, which I understand it should be.
And once you put the rocks in, well, what's to stop the beavers from just putting another inch or two?
They're going to,
I know.
they're going to, we gotta get rid of the beavers.
Is it-
The beavers are the problem.
Cage that they can put to bypass that?
They have
You see in other
false-
areas where they put the certain type of pipe. in
The plastic pipe, the beaver deceiver, they call it.
Yeah.
I don't know if that
You
works.
know, I-
I don't believe it works.
Oh, it works down below.
But it is our problem, because if DPW is constantly out there maintaining the roadway,
Okay.
when they could just put a deceiver in and be done with
Put
it.
the siphon tubes in.
So that might help
You
in
know what I'm
this.
saying?
Or if they do it right, where they.
Or relocate the beavers.
You could trap the beavers, you could just keep breaching it. you
Hire
could-
people that worked as hard as.
Oh my gosh, this week,
Guy over
in a
something.
week, they built that water came all the way back up, and saw it in a week. And I thought they were all sleeping.
They don't have chainsaws.
They're quick.
And I was happy to see that this weekend, cause
They will hire
I don't want that
people
pond to be
license
a
I know.
mud hole. It's gonna be a black mud hole, it's gonna just be
Be nasty.
terrible.
Yeah, why do you think Eagle Lake's not
Here's
drained?
the picture of the- there you
Beavers.
go. There's that pink flag.
Yep.
And I think they used a stake on this side that I had. I think it's, I actually do.
It's part of their dam.
It's in there, it's in that, it's in that, it's in
Like,
there.
God, this thing's not moving.
Nature's
What is that?
engineered.
So they did a great job. It's at the right level and now the shoreline
The shoreline's
is
still
back
level.
up because at their beaver hut, which is like straight across, you can see it, right? Right in here.
So funny.
That was, even, this is already a little bit of stuff in here. And when they first did it, you could see almost how the beavers go inside there. That could be kind of fatal to them in this time of year. And usually they're hibernating, but the weather's been in their favor and they came out and they did some serious work this week.
Multiple places in the town.
Please identify, name and address,
My name's
please.
Joseph Warrington, and I live at 69 Palmagussit.
Please, yeah.
It's a beaver problem as well. But I've seen this area as well, and it's a constant problem. With these beaver deceivers or whatever there is, there's gotta be some type of technology than pulling sticks out humanly. The beaver deceiver or whatever the ways that they ought to look into it.
The way it was explained to me by a fellow we had brought into town to do some work, they're attracted to the noise, the
Sound of the
the
running
sound
water.
of the water rippling. And the key is to eliminate that sound. And the way that they had accomplished that was siphon tubes.
Mhm.
You know, so that they brought far enough away from the constriction where the water would get turbulent,
Yep.
all right, to give it a gentle flow, if you would. And
Yep.
reduce the noise so the beavers are not attracted to it.
Yep.
It seemed to work, but I've only seen it once.
Mhm.
You know, so I wouldn't stake my
I've had
life
the
on it.
same problem with my
necessarily.
property, and I was out there daily, because my pond would raise 2 inches in a matter of 3 hours.
Oh, yeah, where you
Yeah.
are, it's,
Okay,
And it was
I'm
every
gonna
day
pull this back
process.
to this meeting, which is only to deal with this problem right here. And in fact, it's not even to talk about the beavers, it is to talk only about,
The dam spillway.
so just to go through the rest of these photos really quickly.
That's just showing the difference in
Mhm.
the levels.
Is there any way to get state aid or something to really correct this so it's never a problem again?
I think the only way it could ever not be a problem again is to not have a pond there.
Reintroduce beaver hat. Get them to catch them again.
Yeah.
I see Danny Hockey, saw Hockey over there all the time, manually pulling things out.
So Glenda, this is showing,
Just how much the levels dropped from the water line down to
Yeah.
the current elevation.
But it has replenished, Julian.
It's, they built
Because
it
the
this
beaver
week.
dam came back.
It's come back and the water's back up, but if it washes away, it's a gravelly material,
Because one of the
and it's
concerns,
gonna erode
the,
itself to a
The
point where
difference,
it
I'm
becomes
trying to
a
remember,
road.
between the tape and the water level the day we were out there.
How much,
15,
Oh my
18
gosh,
inches.
it had to have been like, probably 18 inches.
Yeah,
Oh,
it was,
Yeah,
it
at
was,
least I think it was 20, 21 inches when I first put that tape up there.
yeah, it was pretty significant.
no, in fact, you made the comment that, you know, we might have been a little late
Yeah.
even to save some of the hummocks and
And
stuff.
I believe it daily was getting lower because there was eroding the channel. And this big storm just before, that, I wouldn't wanna fall into that. If you fell in there, would've got sucked right into the culvert pipe. It was ripping. But it's I think it's an easy fix, but
So what did we do at this point?
that's gonna put the dirt back when we're done. And then get Eric Kelly out of retirement. And he can sit there every other day like he has for the last 15 years.
okay, well, what I will say, I had a conversation with Chris Kolofsky today. And it is his contention that his work did not cause this breach. I have no opinion, I'm trying to,
I can give you some survey, when I first did the work in that area, on the lots up, I have grades. Cause I wanted to make sure that that dam was not on the property. That was not my problem, or my client's problem. So I shot it, so I know the elevation and the exact location on paper.
Right away?
Compared to, it's in the right of way.
Yeah.
That part is
That's
in the right of way.
Yeah.
And then the right of way is probably 3 or 4 feet beyond that pink flag. Cause before my client purchased it, he said, you don't want nothing to do with the dam, cause that will end up being a nightmare.
So that's a
Make sure
a
that-
DPW,
well, that's another thing, he's convinced that it's, Chris is convinced that it is not.
Push the right of way through there.
his
it's
fault or his
variable.
jurisdiction?
A couple stone walls and.
Well, he needs to be convinced otherwise then, because if it's
I
the
can
town
show-
owned
I'll
right
bring you
away,
some
That's just it, there are, so I just wanted to go,
Just
now I
saying.
gotta find Walnut and, hold on, that's right
And
here.
then talking with, I was allowed to, I asked him and he says, all right for me to bring his name up. When that was done, Justin Miner, who lives through the woods and over the valley, says, I thought I was in a tidal wave. That water came from the top pond down towards Turkey Hill in a gush. He goes, I was afraid my yard was gonna disappear. And they got a beaver problem down on that end too.
oh my goodness.
Julian, how wide is the right of way for,
It varies, there's no
Yeah.
specific. I can tell you, see how it's narrower here, and then it's wider, and it's real wide? There's stone walls on both sides, and that's the right of way, but I have details of all that. And where the dam, or the spillway exists.
Yeah, it's one of those descriptions where the right of way is,
Faces-
That's what
has been used over,
I don't understand how deep,
It's the face of the wall.
I
in
don't,
this
I don't
area.
get that.
what don't you understand?
How, if DPW is saying they don't have jurisdiction, but yet they're doing the maintenance on it, doesn't make sense.
they're doing it only because when the water overflows, it impacts the road.
Right.
They don't
They're
have
doing
to
it for
prevent
road maintenance, not for dam maintenance.
Yeah, I understand it's a public safety issue with, I mean, flooding on the road and icing and all
They just
that.
went a couple inches too deep, and it just woof, took it out.
I mean, it's,
I experienced that in town of Charlton about 20 years ago on
It's a
one of my client's
maintenance
properties.
it's a
They
maintenance
got a
issue.
permission to take the
really.
beaver dam off, and they scraped it, and there was one big boulder. And their excavator tooth cut the one boulder, and all of a sudden, the pond was gone.
What was it?
Oh, no, that's
Off of Route
interesting,
31.
because this has the right of way here, and the dam is clearly in the right of way.
Yeah,
Right, and
which is different from the picture that he showed me today.
Oh, okay.
I
And
can
how
show you a
accurate
real-
is this
I
map?
can show you a real survey.
Well, that's a
picture.
whole nother problem, right, sir?
What are you calling the
But I-
dam, Peter? That's is where your cursor is right
Yes.
there? That's where the culvert starts. So that's where,
That's the culvert.
I'll call it a head wall
Oh,
at
okay.
the beginning of the culvert.
So I think regardless of ownership, though, the only thing we can really have any jurisdiction over is if the work itself is cause of concern to us and if there's any action we want to take. I think anything that, if we don't find that it caused the pond an issue, then it's something that they need to talk to DPW about.
Well,
But if
Well,
the
I mean,
actual activity is causing an issue, then that's the issue we need to discuss.
I'm just asking for the sticks and mud to be replaced with stones and soil to the level it was, so that if the beavers decide to move out, that's still a pond.
but that's not the question at this instant. I'm not saying you're wrong, Julian.
Right.
I'm saying that's not the question we're trying to discuss at this instant. Right now, we're talking about, my question is, should there have been a filing before the the beaver dam was removed? And
That's a Board of Health permit. Where it stops.
yes,
And then.
And us.
but it's,
You.
but it's
also land
also a
underwater, too.
conservation commission issue.
First, they gotta get the permit from the Board of Health to be allowed to do it, and then they come to you to do it.
Right.
We did that on Noble Hill numerous times.
Right, and neither of
Numerous
those
times.
things, actually, I have no idea if Board of Health was contacted about this. I can say with relative certainty that Concom was never contacted about the work.
But it was an emergency, he was afraid, cause there's been times, you guys have seen, the water's right up to the asphalt
But if they're
in the
operating
neighborhood.
under the
And probably
assumption,
almost, there's a
Then
good
road
crown of the road,
maintenance.
stays towards the pond.
Then that
they
could be
would not
exempt.
have necessarily wouldn't have had reason to come to us.
In other words,
So they still should have notified us regardless. If it's an emergency action, then we should have still gotten notification. So I think the
It
issue is
wasn't
we
an
need to talk.
emergency action. It was, I believe,
Preventative.
their normal course of business, they just changed the tactic a little bit.
It's a perfect description.
That's
It just,
the way of putting
it went from Eric to a machine.
Yeah,
So if it's regular maintenance and we don't have an issue with the maintenance, then the final condition, if we don't have an issue with if it impacted the resource area, then we can't make the DPW put something back. I think that would be something that the owners need to talk to the DPW about.
It's in the right of way. I have no say. My client has no say. I'm not on my property. They remove something that's causing a major change. Other option is take the whole thing right out, bring it back to a river, and there's a 40-acre parcel of land there. That's my specialty. So, by all means, go for it.
wonderful.
I knew there was a,
Yeah, I'm just telling you, I'm looking at it that way.
There's always an angle.
I've been asked to bring it back, and I'm saying, no. Let it go, it's center of town, beautiful spot.
the actual work that they performed was not in the right of way, it was close.
Oh, I think
to
it was. Yeah, it's in the right of way. There's a stone wall.
Well, no,
There's a
it's the head wall
No.
there
this
is in the right of way.
There's a
Now look
stone
at
wall. This, don't go by GIS by this. This is wrong. There's a stone wall that goes like so,
Yeah,
and then it goes across. And that is the property. It goes all the way across like this and then follows up the road. This is the actual concave of where the culvert pipe comes through. But the spillway, that's probably the water pouring over.
Pouring over, yeah.
yeah, but that's what I'm saying, it's the spill where they worked is not in the right of way.
No, this is misplaced.
The stone wall is the edge of the
This-
right of way, is what he's
These two
saying.
orange lines of the
That's
right of
that
way
is usually
should
true.
be
There's
up
probably a
here.
line, that's probably it right here. And it's probably.
Yes, I can get some detail, if that's what it
Okay,
takes, I'll go
all
some
right, that's-
detail.
because I was looking
So
at
that's an
that.
important question as to.
Yeah, so whose it is. And if it's on the Takala pond side, which I know it's not.
So he showed you a different map, Peter?
Well, he showed me basically this.
Do not
Oh.
survey
I mean,
on GIS
effectively,
maps.
what he showed was based on, my guess was based on GIS data.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
a
okay,
GIS
so
map.
Alright,
So it's obvious, it's clearly not regulatory approved official anything, it's
No.
It's a guideline.
Right.
Unless you have better information, it sounds like you do, Julian.
Yeah, just to show what it was. And that's all the owner wants is just that if it's only sticks and mud in one big storm, we'll wash that away. And then we'll be right back to a big black mud hole.
At least it's not mosquito season. But,
Or bring it back to
well, I
the
think
brook.
the resolution of where that boundary is needs to be worked out with Chris, maybe. Because if he's using that, then he was,
No, that's not what I'd be using.
Yes.
Is part of the problem, it's really nobody's responsibility to remove dams? The only reason the town is doing it is because it's interrupting the road?
That is the only reason that beaver dam had been
Other than that, if it wasn't
touched.
interrupting a road, the water level just raises and lowers.
Right.
And until somebody
And-
goes
and-
and
and the
removes
level of
those
the-
sticks.
The level of the spillway is the level of the water until the deep beavers dam the thing
It's
up.
like Thayer Pond right now. That's probably
5
3
feet.
feet higher than it's ever been.
5 feet, Bill,
Is it
so
5 feet? It's amazing.
I'm in trouble.
It's crazy.
It's amazing, it's,
that's coming.
Yeah. That's usually the case though, even like with DPWs on maintenance, it's like, there's no action. It's more reactive, oh, a
Right,
culvert's clogged, or the road's flooding.
So,
Well, the proactive side of that, yeah.
It's not preventative.
The proactive.
So does the
side,
commission have a concern
with-
with
Right.
the pond as it looks? Or is the commission concerned with how the activity impacted the resource area?
Yes,
Yes,
Okay, so then I think we should talk to DPW about final conditions then. Whether it's what was previously there, what the owner is, what the owner wanted, I think we just need to go from there.
well, I think that, yes, you're right, Melissa, but I think the problem is ensuring that all parties recognize who the proper owner is.
Yeah, but enforcement order can also be to a violator.
True.
So the DPW did the work. Why was the work done? One, if it was emergency, we still should have been notified. So there's a process issue. Is it ongoing? Is it reactionary? Is it something you do every year? Because if it is, then we need to have a larger discussion. If it was just because of a storm and a blockage and the road was flooding, okay, let's set up a better process for emergency certifications. And then, okay, this activity happened. We have cause of concern in terms of erosion, sedimentation, and the final condition. So what can we do to rectify the activity that has been done and the damage that it caused?
maybe we ought to draft that up in a letter form.
I think I'd rather do, yeah, I shouldn't say that. That's not, what I'm gonna say wasn't very good, so wow. It's joke.
letters are usually effective. And discussion. Followed by
Well, it clearly
discussion.
states the questions
Right.
and asks for the answers, and
I mean,
that's really what that's the
Yeah.
first step, I think.
check with the Board of Health. Who's their Board of Health person?
Rich Stevens is the agent.
Does he do all of the Board of Health stuff, septics and everything
Yeah.
else,
Yeah.
under all one?
You didn't actually have a question, or we answered it? Okay. Okay,
good thing is it's an easy fix in any way we look at it. It's easy to get to, it's right there.
Yeah, the paperwork may be more than the.
It's definitely, this is
So,
a
Melissa, you can-
3-hour job for a machine.
you can work with Tamika to get that letter written up? Actually,
Absolutely.
yeah, this one's just a letter, not an order, right?
This is not
Yeah,
doing
I mean,
so
even
much.
just a email to Chris would be good.
Yeah. Okay.
But if they wanna drain it, that's an option too.
That solves the flooding issue of the road,
No,
right?
but about the
What do you know?
wildlife.
Let me ask a horrible question.
What happened to the fish that were?
Was this a man-made pond, basically?
Absolutely it was, just like 5 other ponds in town.
Right. When?
Oh, I would say, I'm gonna guess this one was in the 20s. Maybe sooner, maybe a little earlier. Cause theirs, I think, was done in the 50s.
It's clearly been there long enough for wetland plants to take. It's a wetland now.
Oh, yeah.
So,
Oh, same, it's the
we
same
have to
with
treat
Mill
it,
Pond.
yeah, but we
Mill Pond is
do have to
man-made.
treat it like a wetland and a resource area and not as something
Oh,
else.
it's pretty much a pond.
So,
I
okay,
don't think the neighbors wanna be looking at a big black splotch and then it's just gonna turn into a,
Mosquitoes.
no, it's terrible. We don't want an Eagle Lake.
No, the beavers saved Eagle Lake.
They did.
Yeah,
They actually did, right on that first dam.
yep.
They built
No
it all
pond.
up and,
Sounds
Okay.
like they're trying to save this one too.
anything
yeah, they're
else?
doing a good job. Just,
Beavers are just saving it, saving us.
I think we're done with the
Take
game
care of
Thank
issue,
you.
okay?
I think we are
damn
too.
problem is over.
All right, so we'll talk with Chris
Okay, you can do that.
and move
Have
on.
fun.
Well, we'll let them write a letter, but I'll also talk with Krista.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, Julian.
Okay. Processes and procedures. If I remember correctly, and I'm not gonna guarantee because it's my memory, Melissa, weren't you gonna send some procedures for us to look at or to think about? Or do I remember
Yeah,
wrong?
no, you remembered right. I was talking with
ya.
Bree with them before she left, so I bet I'll resend them to the whole commission. I didn't necessarily do I sent her the drafts of the ones that I have, and I also sent her some checklists that I use internally that literally labels every single step that we take when we get an application, which might be useful for us just to kind of look at moving forward. So I'll recirculate those to everyone.
Okay, great.
I also sent Brianna before she left, she was working on some list like that too, Melissa.
Yeah, and the
For
special, I know
NOI,
she said
NOI
the special
submittals.
conditions. Yeah.
I'm pulling this up from our last meeting. I think Bree had done.
I actually
NOI
never
submission.
She had done one and she was talking about getting 1 or 2 more done, and I was wondering if anybody knows if she got more done than the one that she sent around. And I'm not arguing with the content of
No,
that.
she didn't, Peter. She
Okay.
didn't.
So just the NOI submission requirements.
Yeah. There's a lot of info in here though.
Yes, there is.
It's good.
It's still better than the DEP instructions though. It's like a booklet.
Yep, let's,
I'll keep chugging on those. I'll
Okay.
recirculate what I have just for you guys to look at, different templates, and then, I can start working on tailoring them to Rutland.
okay, fantastic. Wetlands bylaw, no, we're not doing anything on that, I'm not working on it until after town meeting, in February, thank you very much. Where the heck, there you are, sheesh. Anybody have, since we're here, public comment, anyone?
I'd like
Yes,
to
ma'am.
thank you for all the work you do for the town. That's my public comment. All these site visits and trying to figure all this stuff out.
Yeah, he makes us go out in the rain
I know.
when it's like
So
20
mean.
below.
He did.
It's the usual, I
It only,
I
it
doesn't
only
feel
rains
right.
when Peter. and
My
I
first
go.
site visit was horrifying. I came home and couldn't
Wait,
even feel my body. I was
That
like,
was Rutland Heights, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think
You're
so.
still here.
That was
So
pretty wet.
Yes, sir.
Joe Warrington, 69 Palmagussit. I wasn't here last meeting. My health, I couldn't make it. I'm wondering what happened with the silt problem with Molten Pond and my pond across the street. I know they were doing a lot of investigations and a whole lot of powwows going on. I was involved with a few of them, but then I came down with COVID, so I kind of lost the loop. I
Did
don't
we
know if
get-
anything ever happened or
Did
what.
we get correspondence from DCR on that?
Not that I recall. Tamika, am I forgetting something?
Not specifically from DCR, but I know that we had, kind of put that to bed at the last meeting. There's probably some pretty good detail in the minutes. But I don't recall something, well, I remember Bree went out for a site visit with Alan, but that was for Miles Road.
Right. Oh, that's definitely not the right place.
I think we might have discussed it more 2 meetings ago when we talked about leaving the berm, removing some of the, because leaving the berm near the crossing where the silt fence keeps getting ripped down. And I think we kind of rectified the outstanding issues, at least that we had, until items started back up in the spring.
Right, I don't remember there being
I thought-
anything outstanding.
I thought we had got some, maybe it wasn't DCR, it might have been DEP, the folks working with the contractor.
Mhm.
And I thought we had received some correspondence from them.
Oh, and also that,
Neil was on the call.
but the other thing that we all agreed to is that we're gonna go with the SWICA plan.
Yes.
Which means more, it's pretty much put to bed for now, and we will revisit in springtime when there's a drawdown, and we'll do a
They seem
formal
more concerned with
siltation.
Molten Pond than on my side, because Molten Pond is running into my pond, which is a very small pond, it's maybe
Right.
twice the size of this room. And it's since filled up with, silt, I've lost probably, I was told it used to be 8 feet deep, and now it's 2 feet deep. 3 years ago, I had a pipe which was exposed, which is one of my outlets, it's an 8-inch pipe. It was exposed, and now it's filled with 3 feet. I can't even get water to come out of the pipe because it's so filled with silt. They removed the berms on Palmagussit Road, so anything that comes down Palmagussit Road is just coming down the bank and it's going into my pond.
Right, so, my recollection of that walk with DEP was they took, well, we only looked at at the section near Molten Mill Road. And they said there's a little silt, but there's more algae than silt there now, was their people's contention or statement.
Well, there was an area of cat and nine tails that I had, which was maybe about 5 feet. This was 3 years ago. Now it's probably, well, I guess, almost half the size, 3/4 of the size of this room. And all that silt, the river runs into the cat and nine tails, which collects all the silt. So that's becoming like a little island in itself. So now instead of the stream going in, it's actually going around the silt area.
We don't have remediation, definitive remediation plans yet for some of this,
That is correct, we have no remediation plans yet.
right? I'm wondering if that wouldn't be a good source of materials to use in a remediation. Kind of kill 2 birds at one stone. If we take the silt out of his pond and use that, because he's got the cat nine tails in it now and everything. Just a suggestion, and that's something that's gonna have to happen. I mean, that's part of the plan when they do the dam.
They're not talking about my dam at all. They're talking about Palmagussit Road and redoing all that, which my dam now is only maybe 1.5 feet deep.
No, what I'm saying, Joe, is when they do the dam up at Palmagussit,
Yes.
okay, there's a remediation that has to occur.
Yep.
Because they're gonna destroy some resource area.
Right, they were told me that they were just gonna take the pipe from on the other side, run it just through underneath the road, and it had to be 5 feet under the ground. And how far they're gonna come on my side, not very far. That's what I was told. So they don't have any plan to do anything with that pond, the way I was understood. They're running
that's
the pipe
not-
5 feet underground, they have to keep 5 feet of soil on top of those 2 pipes that they're gonna have.
Right, those are temporaries.
Right, temporary. Until they get the
I'm
water.
talking about when they do
His property,
culvert.
69.
right, there's gonna be some destruction.
Oh,
They
yeah.
gotta put the head wall, they have to have a head wall on it to support the roadway.
Mhm. I don't
That
know.
head wall is gonna destroy some of the edge up at Palmagussit,
Mhm.
of your pond, along with Molten Pond. So they have to remediate, they have to find some place
So it's Molten Pond.
to make up the difference,
Mm.
you know, so that we don't lose resource area. Right, my suggestion was just now,
Mm.
that one of the things that they need when they do a
Yep.
reconstruction, that they need
Resources to,
they need
Do what they
the
need, yeah.
materials.
Yep.
And I'm saying to myself, maybe you can get the materials right out of your pond.
right,
Solves your problem, solves
Mm-hmm.
their problem.
yeah,
You know, everybody walks away with a smile instead of, maybe that's something we could work with them, I think.
that, you know, the issue is I have 4 outlets on my dam.
Yeah.
The third outlet is going onto Molten Road with a pipe that goes, just pipe about 12 inches.
Yeah.
That's my emergency exit. But then all those 4 exits go
Yeah,
into
before
one.
that one in,
All those 4 go into one.
Yeah.
And then it goes underneath Molten Road.
that's collapsing.
And then that's collapsing. And they were over investigating it and they stood on the stone wall and about 4 stones about this big ended up falling down onto the other side. So now the outlet is even smaller than it was before. My concern is when they do release the dam, which is causing a problem down on Miles Road as well, that it can't make it through that pipe because I have 4 exits. 3 only are working now because the other one's filled with silt. But those 3 exits going into the one is going to go over Molten Road if they release too much of the water out of the
What are-
dam.
Prior to you owning that property,
Yeah,
it did.
it did.
And it was immediately after the road was put in,
Mm-hmm,
Molten Mill Road,
yeah,
about 8 months after they did it. It's gone.
yeah.
And
what
that's
they
why
did-
that other one was added on the side.
Yeah, well, that emergency exit used to be lower. When they built in Molten Road, they raised it up, which made my exit obsolete, because it was a concrete platform, which is maybe from me to you, 8-10 feet wide, that the water was a high point, and that would go over Molten Road, and that was the emergency exit. But when they concreted Molten Road, they raised it up about 1.5 feet. And then put in the pipe barrier, which is now my exit, which is a lot smaller exits what I had before. So the
Now-
emergency exit would bypass Molten Road, going underneath Molten Road and go over the Molten Road at my point. But now, everything's going underneath until it gets to the point where it can't make it through, and then it's gonna go over. Like you said, Joe, it did several years ago. So that pipe needs to be a larger pipe underneath Molten Road.
I know we're looking at,
This should all be involved with that project, is what I'm
This was
saying.
all right at the very beginning when we started talking about it, and I asked these questions about further down, because there was no provisions in any of the drawings or any of their plans
Mhm.
to do anything downstream.
Yep.
They would,
And it's a
the
nightmare on Miles Road.
possibility of flow was at least tenfold more than it is now, based on the size of the culvert that they're replacing and the culvert that they're putting in. And that was my bone of contention, that the only thing that was regulating flow between Molten Pond coming onto Palmagussit was the size of the culvert.
Mhm.
Right? And even with that small culvert that's in there, we were able to take out the road and take out Miles Road at the same time. Well, it's actually Millbrook Street down at that end.
Mhm.
Take that out at the same time, going all the way into their pond. The problem there is the culvert going in, that box culvert, is gonna have at least 10 times the flow capacity than what exists now.
Right.
Alright, that's gonna take his dam, his house, Molten Pond Road, Molten Mill Road, and Millbrook Street, and take it off the map.
I was told by Roger, the DEP guy that the pond is 5 feet above the normal. 5 feet above the normal.
What pond?
Molten pond.
Yeah, I don't think it's
Across the
5
street.
feet. No, I don't believe that. No, it isn't, because that's all, the dam isn't, it's adjustable, and it hasn't been
No, it's-
adjusted in
Long
It's just
time.
a
about-
long time, and that's one of the reasons they're replacing
I
it.
saw them, they went in, they took a claw and they took everything out and it flooded me out. That's when they almost went over Molten Road. And I went up to the DPW in emergency, they came down, they put a giant log back down in front of it. This is how they stopped the water.
Mhm.
The log, as I know, is still there to regulate the pond, and since the beavers are always a foot above that, so the only way they can relieve the pond is to just remove sticks manual. Since all the sticks have gone down underneath the road into the culvert,
Yep.
and that's gonna eventually block up.
Oh, yeah, that's a drop basin there.
That's a drop basin, and the pond level, if there is a waterfall that comes over Palmagussit, I mean, that's probably 20 feet to my pond. So I won't have a house.
That came close that time with when the roads washed out. Fire department was at your house for a long time.
Mhm. I had 6 feet of water in my basement.
So the pond is like basically your front yard? Or is that on the side?
On the side of the yard, yep.
This looks really close.
Okay. We'll keep an eye on things. Thank you.
Thank you,
Okay,
folks.
good night, thank
night.
you.
All right. I'll ask the question. So are there any other business before the commission tonight?
I was just curious,
Yes.
just related to this same conversation, I'm trying to remember the SWICA plan. What are they actually drawing down? Just Molten Pond?
Yes.
Okay.
They're just moving sticks temporarily. It's like they go down and observe it and then remove some sticks and, you know, I kind of monitor it because if they raise it up too much, it actually will start coming in my basement again. And I won't have a backyard because the river level raises so high. And it's actually come about this close from not being able to go underneath Molten Road. And that was just about 2 weeks ago. Another 3 inches and it would have been going over. Wouldn't have been able to go through the pipe. And to remove the big stones that are on the other side, where it is caving in. Because you do have large trucks that are storing across the street.
Okay.
We went out to Britnell Oswald.
What?
Britnell Estates. Was that
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Britnell-
phase two? Phase two.
2, I think.
Yeah, it was that oops that they did where they took the trees and.
They had staked, silt fence with staked straw bales around the entire perimeter of the area that they're supposedly stumping right now.
So are they, we know that it was, that area was overcut.
Right.
Are they stumping any of the overcut is my question.
Yes.
Yes, it's within the ECB. You know what I'm
So-
saying?
Peter, this is the
Thanks,
part,
Simon.
I didn't completely understand this, I think I have a better understanding now. I thought the overcut was beyond the limits of the entire project,
Oh.
but I think the overcut was just beyond phase 1.
It was beyond
But was still
phase.
within phase 2. They basically cut those in phase 1 and phase 2.
Okay, all right.
They cut phase 2 part too early, is what happened. So now they've got the erosion controls along the edge of phase 2, which encompasses everything that was cut to this point.
Okay,
Yeah,
all right.
yeah. That
That makes it
confused-
much more clear, thank you.
Yes, that confused me too.
What he
and-
said.
And that made it clear.
Thank you, Dad.
I thought the overcut was beyond the limit of the project.
Right, that's what was
Yeah.
my understanding.
Yeah.
Oh, that's why I was like freaking out about that.
Okay, that's good news, thank you.
Even if it was beyond the roadway plan, it's not beyond the house lot.
Right, right.
It's areas,
No, I wouldn't
it's areas
expect
that would have been cut anyway.
Yeah,
No,
Put the house lots in.
exactly, because the ECBs are in the entire project and not around just, okay,
Right.
all right.
Yeah, so it's this, but did your phase, do you have the phasing plan or anything on this, like?
No, I don't have a phase, at least I don't remember
Like, did
one.
phase one have to be 75% completed, like, before they moved to phase two or something like that?
Since there was, to my recollection, no phasing plan at all, it was just one big project, then no, there was no, from our point of view, no requirement for.
When the original plans were filed, this wasn't part of it.
Oh, really?
These plans, the original plans, you have to understand, go back 20 years.
Yeah.
They had no idea that they were going to be able to acquire the land that
To even move on to another phase?
So that there was no
So like, it didn't go through planning, like, is the definitive subdivision with all those requirements?
There would have to be, no, there absolutely is a division of subdivision plan
Yeah.
for Brittenell Estates. There absolutely is, and it's undoubtedly been amended many
it's
times.
been
60 million
amended.
times,
I mean,
like
this-
half of
this
these
is like-
other
like
projects?
Well, like every project I've ever seen.
Yeah, this is like
Yeah.
Rice Lemon, another one,
So
20
many
years in the works, you know. It was originally
Okay,
Bryce
so-
and not Lemon, but then,
Mm-hmm.
you know, it,
So the phase two is just the lower part on this, off this cul-de-sac? Joe,
Yes.
I
you
believe
said
it
down here,
is,
or is it up here too?
hold on.
What's this road? Bear Farm Drive.
there's actually two little roads over there, two little cul-de-sacs, I think they're both in it. Because part of that was contingent upon them getting the crossing in,
I don't remember ever
Some-
seeing a
by,
phasing plan, so it's all just one large,
sewer pump
Yeah,
station.
we, like, the whole perimeter was done for this.
good. Did we send them a letter about the
Very last
ECBs and the
Oh,
the
it's the last
stockpile
sheet.
against the ECBs, Tamika?
Sorry, it's right here.
Didn't Bree send that? I thought Bree sent that.
The what?
I remember we talked about the stockpile was against the ECBs.
Yes, I do remember we talked.
I thought,
Yes, Brianna sent them an email. I believe you guys had asked Bree to send a letter.
right,
Yeah, I think it included the
Oh,
stockpiling.
like Tom Larson or something. I found the phasing plan, sorry.
oh, nice,
Jared actually found it, it's the last page of the plan set.
cool.
So
I
phase
didn't
two,
remember that.
phase two is on both sides of the road, and so this up here, this Bear Farms
That's
phase
three, yes.
Three, yeah.
three, the site's a beast. So they just need
Okay.
to maintain,
Maintain their ECBs and get,
Swiffer. I don't know. Do their,
okay.
Julian can do that.
But did I never saw a response, no, in fact, I never saw the email go up, but we haven't gotten a response to their request to move.
I don't think so.
Where was this?
I know. So if,
Would we have done it, or would Bree have?
that's a good question, I'm gonna try and figure that out from emails.
Right. We don't know where the supposed stockpile area is.
Oh, we
Or do we know?
We know.
There was all kind of pictures.
If you come in from Brittenell,
When we went in from Bear Hill.
Yeah, we went in a giant circle and then we came back around a giant circle
We
again.
got the grand tour.
You're following Joe. Getting dizzy. It's confusing out there.
It's on this side of the road.
It's where your
Oh, this
cursor
is,
is.
so this is phase three.
That's
Wait,
phase three.
That's phase three, so I think it's all, it's up here. And it is against the ECBs, but the ECBs may not have been in place for phase 3, I
I
don't
know.
remember.
Right.
So it might not be the real, I mean, they're ECBs, but they're not the plan ECBs.
Right.
I
Put
can't
it this
see
way,
any
they
of
weren't in
this.
the wetlands.
It's hard to read.
They absolutely weren't, yes. But there is a stream. right?
Flagging was how far
Yeah,
back?
well, that's not cross.
30 or 40
In
feet.
fact, if anything,
Zoom.
it's over, it's on this side,
So
cause it's not close.
So it's not labeled stockpile area on the plan?
No, I
It
don't think
wasn't like a planned stockpile
No.
area?
so. I don't think it was designated on any plans.
But that might be a function of the Euro conditions too, because sometimes we just say on site.
Right. Okay. Enough of my questions for now. Any other business? Hearing none. Oh, wait, yes?
I was wondering what course of action could I take? What's my next steps?
Offhand, I don't know, is all I can say at this moment.
Have you had any conversations with the contractor at all, Joe?
Like I said, I just talked to George.
Roger is the only one I talked to,
Okay.
and he.
Roger is what I
He's
meant,
kinda
not
like-
George.
No, he says
Well, Roger
it's a
is
whole different change of his
massive.
plans, and it's like he doesn't wanna really talk about it because it puts too much of a change, but I don't see it's that much of a change, it's just extending the pipes another 30 yards.
Yeah, that's Mass Dot, Roger, right?
Right.
You know, it doesn't seem that big of a deal to bypass my pond and just go over my waterfall
Yeah.
and leave my area open
it's just-
where it can be worked on.
Yeah, just extend the pipe. I mean,
Right, and they said, no, it was too big of a process, and he didn't wanna talk about it. I said, well, I guess I'm talking to the wrong guy. He says, yeah, you are. So I couldn't make the last meeting, so I'm sorry I wasn't here the last meeting, so I'm here again.
Try talking to the town administrator.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's where I'd go. Town administrators,
I have to talk to the town administrator.
That's
that's what I'd do if you're really concerned about your problem, because there's nothing we can do about it.
right.
Because you're dealing with the state highway department, and that's the town administrator's job.
And who's the town administrator?
Austin Saganowitz.
No, we don't know how to spell the last name, just it's Austin.
CYGIE.
It's on the
I
town
missed
website.
letters already. C.
How do you pronounce that again?
Saganowitz.
Saganowitz.
Yeah, just walk up and say,
CYGAN.
what the town hall.
EYGANIEWICZ.
Yeah,
There you
Ah,
go.
I know
she's
you'd
got
know,
it.
Tamika.
It's CYGANIEWICZ.
W-I what?
CZ.
CZ. It's also on the website.
Charlie Zeta.
Never got that.
Is it German or something?
It's a nice Irish name.
Irish.
Okay.
Make a motion to,
Oh,
Okay.
one more question?
Go ahead.
go ahead, Joe.
I live at 43 Palmagussit, which is still in the midst of the Palmagussit problem. They're pretty well done with this phase of the concrete, the pavement, I guess.
Yeah, they're done for the year.
Yeah, I don't know if they're gonna be putting any curbs up on
Yeah,
my side of the road or
I
eventually.
honestly, I don't
I'm
know.
getting a lot of runoff onto my side of the road where the fire hydrant is. There's a big wash off going off into my garden right into the fire hydrant. And they never removed the trees and debris out of the front yard, which I thought was kinda odd, so I did mention it to them. I guess it was kinda late in the season, they did remove some of the debris, but they left a mess in my front yard.
Yeah, that's not something we can help you with.
Yeah.
That's between
Yeah,
Roger you talked to and the DPW.
okay,
They're responsible for all that.
okay.
They will be back in the spring, right?
Oh, yeah.
So
There's a whole other year of work to do.
there's still a lot to do, so they'll be back.
The barriers that were on the road down on both sides of the road on pump station. So one, the water runs into Molten Pond and the water runs into my side as well.
Well, that was done intentionally.
Yeah,
So
because
you
there's
get
a big
ponding.
puddle there.
In the roadway.
Yeah.
Well, I see a lot of trees up over there.
All right, thank you guys.
Hill from either side.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. Good night.
Motion adjourned.
There we go.
Second.
Skip. He was just waiting to say that. Could you tell?
I've
Have
been
a good
waiting.
night, Joe.
Roll call.
Black eye. Falco eye.
Gentilucci, aye.
William said aye.
Dan's eye.
Crane and I were adjourned at 7:50. Thanks, everyone.